Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Narrator Podcast. I'm your host, Hallziespoetrycorner. The Narrative Podcast is the home of original people, peace, reciprocity, and positive frames of reference. I am your host, Hallziespoetrycorner. Welcome all my narrators. Welcome everybody newly tuning into the podcast. Unfamiliar with the platform, but you will be informed momentarily. So happy Tuesday, everybody. I just know we're being productive out there and winning out there like the kings and queens we are and the gods and goddesses that we are. So yeah. I'm here live today on a Tuesday on my platform, the Narrative Podcast. And before diving into my content, I have to bring all the new people that are not familiar with my platform up to speed, give you a brief walkthrough and overview of how my podcast works, and what it's all about. So here we go, diving in. Let's start at the top, Tippy. The Narrator Podcast. Why'd I name it that? Because the media weaves a false narrative about original people and original culture. So what I want to do to combat that misrepresentation is to design a platform where I'm playing up our strengths and highlighting all our success and accomplishments as a people. So, yeah, as a matter of fact, the tagline for my podcast is the Narrator Podcast, changing the narrative one episode at a time. How do I change the narrative? By providing positive frames of reference. And that's entirely what this podcast is about, providing positive frames of reference about our people and our culture. The ultimate takeaway I want listeners to gain from this content that I share, if nothing else, is how important it is to share positive content on your platforms. We're living in the digital age. The information sharing age, and this is how information is gathered and this is how knowledge is shared. So here's the skinny. So basically the powers that be use the media to intentionally misrepresent our people for profit and to help sustain the higher echelon, aka dominant society, aka white people, to sustain them, keep their socioeconomic stronghold over all resources and absolve them from all crimes committed by them from the past, and to basically make their reputations look unsullied and pure by defiling and dirtying everybody else's reputation, everyone else's reputation. And out of all the people they do it to, they enjoy doing it to our people the most, because they're the most frightened of our people. They don't want us to retake our rightful place, and mostly At the core of their very fear, at the essence, like when you strip back the onion layers, they're the most afraid if we finally stop fighting each other, finally took some time and start learning about our rich ancestry and history, that we would dethrone them and do to them what they did to us. But their fear isn't, legitimate, because that's not even in our nature as a people. We're a loving, kind people by nature. We are teachers by nature. We're lovers by nature. So they're, creating all these negative stereotypes and stigmas about our people through their own insecure fears and primal urges and desires to conquer. But I digress. Getting back to why it's important to share positive content. It's important, especially about our people and our culture, because like I said, we're living in this digital age. We use these devices and forms of media to tell or narrate our own personal stories. So basically, that's how the media works. The media is an evil, wicked organization, but in the same breath, they're a business. And so as a business, the first rule of business is supply and demand. So they're doing their statistical research online, noticing trends and what people seem to be gravitating to and what they appear to be watching and downloading. And so they're judging us as a people based on, what we're posting online, what we're downloading, what we're clicking on, and they're creating content based upon their statistical research. So statistically, they believe, these images that they circulate about our people and our culture for, product placement, to advertise products, to, sell these horrible movies depicting our people in a negative light, sell these horrible television shows depicting our people in a negative light, because they're using all the data they collect, and they assume from the data they collect, that's how, we're supposed to be portrayed and represented across, all platforms. And so, like I said, of course, they give people outside of our culture negative frames of reference about our people and our culture. So, how crazy are we for playing into the negative stereotypes and stigmas that they already place over us by posting gang culture, gun culture, thought culture, pimp culture, whore culture, bullying culture, fear culture, ignorance, whatever, all these negative stereotypes and stigmas that we post online about us, thinking it's funny. We do it for, stuffs and gigs. I try not to curse on my platform, but, we do it not, cognitively thinking how it's going to look, how it's going to be perceived when we post it online and put it back into the universe. So we should be utilizing our platforms wisely, and always, posting positivity about our people and our culture. So like, this is primarily what, I do on my platform, and with the intention to inspire and motivate everybody else to do the same. We should be posting stories about leadership, entrepreneurship, unity, creative problem solving, coming together as a community, family structure, just basically sharing the opposite of what the media shares about our people and our culture, because we know what they're sharing is false and inaccurate. So it's not about caring about what people outside of our culture, think about us. We're not, it's not about looking for validation from people outside of our culture. This is like telling our story correctly. If you're going to tell our story right, if you're going to tell our story at all, tell our story correctly. This is what this entire, podcast is dedicated to, telling our story correctly. Now, some nuances about my podcast. First and foremost, I guess I can start there. So first and foremost, I call my listening audience my narrators, and I think I already told you why I call my listening audience my narrators. Basically, we're living in this digital age, and we have the unique opportunity to tell or narrate our stories online. So I think I already said that, covered that. Second, I refer to our people on my platform as original people as opposed to black. And the reason for that is because I believe original describes us better as a people than the word black. I believe original is more inclusive because there's many different types of us. We got all kinds of land masses separating us. We have different ideologies and belief systems and flesh tones and just all kinds of stuff dividing us and separating us as a people. But the one common thing, the common denominator that we have binding us all together is that we are original people, meaning we were and are the first people in creation. Before anything existed on this planet, we did. Before anything that was, we were. We were already here, thriving and existing on all corners of the globe. We originated every civilization on the planet. Not only that, we can all trace our lineage back to Africa. And then a sidebar, I gotta keep pointing out, contrary to all popular belief, we did not get to all these different corners of the globe via slavery. Especially, when we're speaking about the Americas. So slavery actually did happen. It was horrendous. It was brutal. But all of us didn't come on slave boats. The majority of us was like already indigenously located here in the Americas. We was already indigenously located in, parts of Asia, parts of Europe, parts of Australia, parts of the UK, wherever, like even places like Russia, we was already there. But I digress. So yeah, I just think, original better, describes us as a people. Primarily, my reasoning for that is, the dictionary definitions of the word black. That's the only color in the color spectrum in the dictionary that denotes origin. When you go look up the color black, you will see, all these negative words and negative example sentences describing how to use the word, the color black, But before it goes to all that, they go out of their way to, link, origin to it. They say like black, people with dark pigmentation or dark-skinned people originating from Africa. And then they'll have all these different little negative words and example sentences associated with the color black. And, a sidebar, people aren't black. There's no such thing as, a nationality is not black, but that's, nationality is linked to that. That's the only color in the color spectrum linked to that color. So, there's no nationality linked to yellow. There's no nationality linked to red. People are nationality linked to like red or yellow or brown, just only black. And again, all the descriptive, words, all the example sentences, they're all negative, dirty, sullen, chaotic, dismal, bleak, depressed, all that is linked to the color black. But on the inverse, again with original, there's no negative connotation surrounding the word original. It's all positive. What the word original usually hints at the first, and in many cases the best. And like I said, we were and are the original man and woman of this planet. We pretty much invented everything or originated everything. Every modern day convenience that we have now was originated by us. We originated education. We originated the written, spoken, word. We originated astronomy, astrology, science, mathematics, biology, alchemy, chemistry. Agriculture, horticulture, philosophy, medicine, everything came from us originally. And that's why I try to, try my very best to refer to our people as original as opposed to black. If you're comfortable referring to yourself as black, calling yourself black, black is beautiful, all that, that's fine, that's fine. Go right on ahead. I'm not trying to debate with nobody. I'm not trying to, hop in no intellectual arena with nobody. This is just like, just a preference. I prefer to refer to our people as original people as opposed to black on my platform. You can refer to yourself as black on your platform if you want to. But I was just telling you why I do it. Sorry for that very long pause. I was just getting myself adjusted and comfortable. Just about to dive into this content. So a few more misnomers about my platform. I try to make all my content time sensitive. The reason why I do that because I don't want to just rant with no objective. I want my topics to be very clear and concise. I want all my content to be cohesive and flow. I don't want to just be, eating up all your time, all my time, talking in circles and not really, covering anything, just talking off both sides of my rear. like all the content I want to share on here is like digestible. You won't have to clear your entire schedule to catch up on the episode of the Narrator podcast. I also want to accommodate all, intellectual learning, intellectual learning stages, like whatever stage of learning that you're at, I want to accommodate. So basically, I don't want to shoot way over people's heads, but then I also don't want to dumb myself down. I want to be like right there in the middle, putting the knowledge out and, just basically making it plain for everybody. So everybody can, feel included with my content. And then lastly, I cater to our people. Anybody from any walk of life is more than welcome to listen to my podcast, but just know all the content on here is for my people, original people. So I'm like pretty much all my content, I'm speaking directly to us from our perspective, through our lens, because the media focuses their lens so negatively and obscurely and one-dimensionally about our people and our culture. So, on this platform, I'm focusing on, our people through our eyes in a positive way. All right. This is the bad thing about a audio platform, just everything makes so much noise. Everything got an echo. All right, I think I pretty much covered all my bases, letting you know, what the podcast is all about. I'm gonna dive right into the content. So first of all, this is a live edition of the Narrator podcast. And on my live editions, what I do is I share articles, positive articles about our people. And the reason I do that is to provide a positive frame of reference about our people and our culture. And then after I'm done with the articles, I usually deliver some commentary on current events or a current event, something that happened around the world or within our community. And the reason why I do that is basically to control the narrative, because when the story breaks, the media, of course, I already told you how they are. They go out of their way to make it seem and look worse than what it really is, and go out of the way to, make us look negative. So basically, when I do commentary, I'm basically controlling the narrative. Putting it in perspective from our perspective, like how it really is versus how they show the rest of the world how it is. So, hope that made sense, and diving on into the content. All right. First article of the evening here on the Narrative Podcast. The headline reads, Black woman from Florida turns 103 years old, says she rarely eats out. And the sister's name is Theodora Walters. She's from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Her birthday was on June. It didn't say what day. She also attributes her health to surrounding herself with good people. And that's a for sure right on. You know, everybody says you gotta have a good support system. That's just like a common law of nature, frequency, vibration. If you gotta go where you feel love, you know, you gotta walk in love, you attract love. And when you go where you feel love, you'll elevate and always, you know, be leveling up in life. You sit around people that secretly, you know, talking about you behind your back, backstabbing you, or like worse, being phony in your face, you know, giving you fake love and fake support. You know, that'll bring you down too. That'll weight you down too. But yeah, I also concur with her about that eating out stuff. Like me, even before the pandemic, I was always very skeptical about going out to eat, and especially since I've obtained, you know, my culinary arts degree and been working in kitchens and have seen, you know, some nasty stuff. Like I very rarely eat out, you know, myself. Like I try to prepare all my meals by my own hand. Like I gotta know you for you to like cook for me. I don't just be eating everybody's food. I don't be going to restaurants, like, you know. And not only that, you know, food has a vibration too. Like, people cook with their emotions. Their emotions come out of their dish. So when the food's busting, you know, they was back in that kitchen happy. When it's like yucky, somebody was probably depressed cooking. Like super spicy stuff. Like the legend goes, you know, for the angry chicken, how that was birthed. The customer went in and was very rude and disrespectful, and the person preparing the food went and found the hottest spices they could had available, and like put it all on their chicken, you know, and they ate it and ended up liking it. Because they had a kind of a high spice tolerance, but, you know, that's how a lot of dishes are born too, through emotions. But the point was, before I went veered off pudding, is like, just be careful about who you know, be careful about, you know, who you're eating your meals from. You know, that fast food, going out to eat, and just like, people in general, like going over people's house eating. Like if the love ain't there, if they like, you know what I'm saying? If they ain't receptive towards you, I'm not eating it. Like if I don't feel welcome, I'm not going over your house eating somewhere I don't feel welcome. So I'm like, you know, I feel her when she said one of her tips to a long, healthy life is rarely going out to eat. That's all I was saying before I went down that big long rabbit hole about food. But anyway, on to the next article. Next article on the Narrator Podcast. The headline reads, Dad and Daughter open newest Black-owned coffee shop in Chicago. The father's name is Robbie Wilson, and his daughter's name is Destiny. The name of the coffee shop is called Essentials Coffee Cafe. Robbie invested $65,000 of his own money. His daughter Destiny was working at a West Side Health Authority in Chicago. Robbie has gone on to say all those vacant buildings were saying to him there's not a whole lot of money circulating in the community. So when he opened that coffee shop, that was his initiative to try to, create job opportunities and circulate revenue in the community, having somewhere people can go spend their money at, and then his intention is to allocate the funds from his business to things that the neighborhood could potentially need. So that's a classic example of us doing for self. Just 1 second. Darn it. Okay. All right. Next article on the Narrator podcast. The headline reads, "Man finally graduates after 17 years of college." Before you laugh and thinking he didn't graduate college because he's not smart, the brother's name is Terrell Ian Parker. He's an Army officer. So basically the reason why he couldn't graduate on time because, as every semester, he was seeming to get deployed somewhere. And so he would have to stop, start for 6 months, stop for 6 months. And so, it was like that when he was on active duty. And whenever he was on active duty, he was having life happen, family responsibilities, jobs. But he stuck with it and he ended up graduating, getting his degree. I think he had put a post on LinkedIn quoting, what's the guy's name that supposedly freed us? Abe Lincoln. Let me see what he said. Abe Lincoln quote. I don't know, something about crawling and walking, one of those quotes he had put on his LinkedIn. I was trying to find it. I might find it by the end of the segment, but he basically had quoted Abe Lincoln on his LinkedIn after he graduated. So on to the next article here on the Narrator Podcast. Next article, the headline reads, Black man who tried to kill, or black mom, excuse me, I said man, black mom who tried to kill her son's killer launches nonprofit to help women heal from traumatic experiences. Um, and the sister's name is Tracy McKinney, and she is from Chicago, Illinois. So basically, what sent her to the edge is her son got murdered, obviously, and the person that murdered her son was a close acquaintance of her son. So, like, went to the same school, they ran in the same circle, and like people in the neighborhood knew that person did it. Like it was just like common knowledge in the neighborhood that that person did it. And then not only that, here's what sent her over the edge. He was bragging, being braggadocious about killing her son, and bragged in the neighborhood and on social media. He is making social media posts about killing her son. So, you know, that takes really true emotional intelligence and restraint and connecting with the higher power. Because it was through that tragedy that birthed some positivity. So she had to go to a sunken dark place to manifest some light. She created a nonprofit organization called sometimes I cannot read my own handwriting. I think it's called Circles Foundation. Let me see. Double check because I don't want to put out false information. Yeah, I think it's just called Circles Foundation. No, that's not it. Sorry, y'all. Taking all long. I'm just trying to find it. Okay. The Circles Foundation, because it was two of them. One of them was just Circles Foundation. Her organization is called The Circle Foundation. The Circles Foundation. Okay, so when you go to her site, you see a picture of her, and she got her initiative as a mother, business woman, board certified credit consultant, author, and life coach. She done did a lot. Her son's death really inspired her to do a lot of things. And she's a nice looking sister. I said it. She's put together kind of nice. Oh, this is her shop. Is this their organization? Let me see. Okay, the Circles Foundation. All right. I was on her homepage, her store page. Okay. And then go about and okay, Circles Foundation is all about creating maximum impacts. It's time to restore hope and unity. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So they got mentorship programs and life skills workshops. Creating change in troubled communities. Okay, here's the mission statement. That's what I was looking for. Our mission statement is to uplift and encourage youth, young adults by nurturing personal growth and development from adolescence into adulthood. And their motto is, it's okay to fall as long as you never give up. So her vision is to build self-esteem by spreading love and being an inspiration to the youth and young adults by connecting with communities through outreach programs such as addressing gun violence, mentorship programs, women and men empowerment, self-confident classes, building and uplifting with structural workshops and seminars, concerts, clothing, food drives, and more. So that's very positive. So join me in giving a warm narrative podcast round of applause to Miss Tracy McKennedy and the Circles program. And I forgot to do it for the last two articles that I shared too. I'm kind of off today. Trying to find all the articles that I just did. All right. So, well, I'll just do it like this. So, join me in the warm narrative podcast round of applause for the previous articles I shared before I shared Mrs. Tracy's story. All right, moving right on, moving right on along. Whoa. Testing. Okay, still here. I don't know how that happened. All right, where are we at? All right, next article here on the Narrator podcast. The headline reads, DC man who lived in a tent for 2 years just graduated valedictorian and is off to college. So the young man's name is Michael Jeffrey, and his story is tragic. Basically, he was working 2 jobs amidst the pandemic, right when the pandemic hit. I'm guessing he was away from home. You know, many people in college or high school on their senior year end up getting their own place. His story really didn't say like specifically how he ended up homeless. It just said like he lost both jobs. I'm still like wondering why the option to go home back home wasn't on the table if he was graduating high school. But nevertheless, he ended up homeless, living under a bridge. And then, of course, you know, while he's going to high school, that's kind of hard when you're without home because you gotta, you know, you gotta keep that hygiene up. That would be the biggest obstacle. But then he might have just been like, wait until he got to school and going right to the showers in the gym. He might have been doing that. But yeah. All right. Down to the nitty gritty now. The very last article of the evening here on the Narrative Podcast. The headline reads, Girls with... Did I? Okay. It's Michael Jeffrey. I think it is. I be losing my place sometimes. Girls win $13,000 to $13,000 to buy to bring fresh produce to food desert. And this is a story about some young ladies that attended the New Song Academy in Baltimore, Maryland. They're all in 8th grade, and the girls are Rihanna Wilson, age 13, Samaj Chestnut, age 14, and Logan Reynolds, age 13. Basically, so what it was a nonprofit organization, like a nonprofit version of Shark Tank. And they go before the nonprofit and like pitch ideas of how to utilize, you know, the nonprofit money to, you know, uplift or do some type, their community or do some type of outreach program. So these young ladies elected to use the money to buy produce in their neighborhood in Baltimore, Maryland. And as you know, or you should know, if you're an original man or original woman, that most original people neighborhoods have food deserts. And when there are food deserts, there's high crime. And what that's from is lack of nutrition, lack of nutrients, lack of sleep. Because in these places with food deserts, what you have is liquor stores and fast food places. In these fast food places, you know, every item has like 10 to 20 ingredients, all unnatural, all inorganic materials. And in these, you know, convenience stores and bodegas, they have these processed foods that are usually out of date, close to spoilage, stale, and non-nutritional. Have little to no nutritional value whatsoever. But thank goodness they had the fortitude at that early of an age to realize that their people needed proper nutrition and decided to, use that funding for fresh produce. So join me in giving a warm Narrator Podcast round of applause to these young ladies. All right. Well, that's all the articles for this evening. Thanks for being patient until the end. I know I was kind of all over the place with them. I didn't do a really good job at organizing my notes today. I kind of, just like I said many times, for people to listen to me on a regular basis, when I come across these articles, I kind of like do a screenshot and then I write my bulleted points and then share them on my platform, put these positive stories into the universe with the intention on inspiring and motivating anybody that has the time to listen to them. Yeah, because like I said, the media goes out of their way to misrepresent our people and to, paint us in a negative light. Hearing positive news is super rare. Like, we're constantly being bombarded with negativity, constantly being shown images of us living in depravity, living in lack. They're constantly showing us in violence or being carted off to jail or carted off to the morgue. Never no stories about leadership. Never any stories about love. Caring, the human spirit. Never when it comes to our people. So that's why I share these articles. All right. So what's going on these streets out here? There's a whole lot going on, a whole lot of news. I'm not going to tackle every single article or every single current event. I'm really actually just going to focus on one big thing that happened in the news recently, and I'm going to attack a whole lot of points and sub-points about this one thing, because it's, this one thing is kind of a microcosm of our community, and I think it needs to be addressed and talked about. It's definitely a teachable moment, and like, it got onion layers to it, and I'm gonna try to dissect all the onion layers involving this particular instance that happened just recently. So, what's trending in the news is rapper, female artist, Cardi B. She defended herself because a fan took him through, I believe, some bottled water at her, a bottle of water at her during a concert, and she threw a microphone at the person that threw a bottle of water at her. And what's interesting is I'm gonna start at the very first thing that's interesting about the topic, because again, how deceptive and divisive the media is. When the story first broke on nearly every single social media platform or media platform you can think of, headline read, Cardi B throws microphone at fan. Didn't say Cardi B was assaulted by a fan at a concert. That's what the headline should have read. The headline read, Cardi B assaulted a fan with a microphone. You see how deceptive and divisive the media is and how they warp it and use it as and weaponize it against our people and our culture. And make no mistake, hip hop is our culture. We started that. We're not in total agreement in how the culture of hip hop came to be. We're not in total agreement the exact date that it got conceived. We're not in exact agreement in how many people who are the originators of the art form. But one thing that we all seem to be in agreement about is that it belongs to us, our people. Like we originated. It's like universal across the board. We had a whole lot of people that contributed to it, but the main, the mainstays of the culture are original people. And the point I want to make about that is how the media always tries to vilify a rapper, always try to vilify, an R&B singer, or vilify a black actor or a black actress or a comedian of the hip hop genre or the hip hop culture, excuse me. Well, I guess it is kind of a genre and a culture. I guess it's kind of both, but it's just interesting to me. They get targeted all the time and get painted out to be the aggressor. Some more complexity surrounding that issue is that it's seeming that it's happening, all over the world, everywhere. There's a hip hop concert. There's somebody in the crowd assaulting an artist. Why are they doing this? Well, like I've said many, many times over, they're doing it because we're now living in the clout chasing era. Like people are getting online literally for clout. They're saying and doing anything to get 15 minutes of fame. And so rest assured, this random unknown guy that threw this bottle assaulted Cardi B, he assaulted her. But he's going to get his 15 minutes of fame because the world's going to want to know what was going through his mind, why did he do it. So he's going to get his chance to tell his side of the story. And his side of the story is going to come with incentive. They're going to give him, he's going to get to go on talk shows. He might get a tell-all book about it. He might get a reality television show about it, or at the very least, a YouTube channel to, have his own podcast or, some random sketch comedy type like show, his misadventures. But he's going to get an opportunity in all of this, is what I'm saying. And, that's what society is doing. They're rewarding buffoonish behavior. They're rewarding people to get online and act like jackasses. They're giving people money to irritate and annoy people and to flood the airwaves with ignorant foolishness that don't make no sense. And it's especially kind of centered around the culture of hip hop. So yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that when you're peeling back the onion layers, probably the powers that be, who's ever gatekeeping in the industry, put him up to do it. Because there's too many stories about people like that guy showing up at hip hop concerts, showing up at comedy shows, to the hottest people, to the hottest comedians, to the hottest hip hop recording artists, showing up to their concerts, to their live events, and assaulting them. This is basically the powers that be, their attempt to create headlines, to create news. Why would they go to that extremes to create news, to create headlines? Because they want to keep us distracted. Because while everybody's sitting up here on the internet talking about this little debacle, this teeny tiny debacle, something big is happening in the world, something is happening with our food, something happening with our finance and the financial district that we all need to be paying attention to. Some type of policy or legislation that's being passed right now that we need to be, paying attention to try to, keep it from being passed, that it end up hurting all of us in the long run as a people. But, stuff like that's happening. And it's a shame, too, that she got hit with some water, and I'm kind of upset by that one, because she was looking quite nice on the stage. She didn't have any, everything was covered up. She didn't have nothing hanging out. Her breasts weren't exposed. Her butt wasn't exposed. She wasn't twerking before she got, struck with that object. It seemed like it was going to be a decent show. I think she's coming full circle as a mother, taking time with her image to, be more age appropriate, to be more mature. But then the ultra rare moment like that comes along, and then she had to get outside of her body, you know what I'm saying? She been making real conscientious strides to be more subdued, as opposed to how she came in the industry. She came in the industry a stripper and a former escort. But then she's elevated, she's married, she's a mother now, she's doing, children's programming. And then some random jackass comes along and destroys all that in one foul swoop. Because now the image of her we got in our minds, for people that don't, it's not up on her music, that don't know her as a person, they're like, oh, this broad can't control her emotions. This is what hip hop is. They sit up there and they cuss and, you know what I'm saying, and they act like that. But one thing we gotta realize that these people that are entertaining us, They're entertainers, but they're people too. They're people just like me and people just like you. Like, you know, we all have our own emotional triggers. So when somebody crosses the line with you, when you've had enough, you're going to react in a certain way. So why would you think a person on television wouldn't react the same way you would react? Like, we literally all put our pants on one leg at a time. The same thing that irritates me as a person probably irritates that person as a person. Like, everybody got their limits. Everybody, you know, got their different emotional triggers. And so you got to be respectful and mindful of that and treat people how you would want people to treat you. Because, yeah, their purpose is to entertain you, but, you know, don't get carried away with that. They're still people. They're not just like, oh, I paid my money to see you. I own you. I can do whatever I want to you. I can say whatever I want to you. That's not what that is. That's for you to watch them doing whatever it is you left your house for to see them do, whether it's dance, whether it's sing, whether it's play an instrument or tell a joke or whatever it is, whatever event that you left your home for to go see them do, you know, sit in your seat or stand up and just watch them like you got some sense. Don't try to rush the stage. Don't try to, you know, still, you know, try to incorporate yourself into the show somehow. That's not the opportunity. That's not the correct time to do that. Like, again, because, you know, the powers that be have incentivized foolishness. You know, they're creating like nuts. They're creating lunatics now. And then, have you noticed it's always like an agenda too? Like the guy that rushed the stage with Dave Chappelle. He was homeless. And then he was of the LMNOP community. And we already say why we don't say the real letters of the word. That's, you know, when we say the LMNOP community, that's, you know, the code word before it triggers something or someone. So, yeah, LMNOP is safe. So, you know, if they're in the LMNOP community, you automatically can't do or say nothing to them because you will get canceled. But that was weird. That was very strange because, you know, that situation was super fishy. Like, okay, he's homeless. Don't he got his priorities mixed up? Why would you take your, you know, when you finally scrounge up some money, why would you go see a comedy show when you could be getting some food or some lodging if you're homeless? You know what I'm saying? People don't think like that. They don't use common sense, common logic. Like, something's fishy. Something's not right here. So a homeless guy, he finally gets hold of some money, and he goes running to see Dave Chappelle. And that's not weird. Like, if you're homeless, you know, the first thing, if you get some money, would be like to get a hotel room, to get you some place to chill for a little bit. Because Dave Chappelle's tickets is like taxing. They ain't cheap. So if you got a couple $100, he can get you a hotel. Another factor I think that plays into this is the pandemic itself. Because during the pandemic, you had a whole lot of people who were, or are people that have mental health issues. And during that time that we was in quarantine, like a whole lot of stuff was closed to the public. And amongst the things that were closed to the public was, therapy. There was going, before the pandemic, there was like getting psychiatric counseling. And then there was all medicine, so they couldn't get the counseling, they couldn't get medicine. And now everything's opening back up. And you think just everything's going to go to normal again because it's, open back up again, even though people aren't pushing mask policy, people are still walking around wearing face masks. Some people are still, as hot as it is this summertime, there's still people walking around in shiesties. So there's some mental health aspect of it too. Because think about it, somebody incarcerated, they might have been incarcerated for 6-7 months, or a year or longer, or 5-10 years. They come home, and what's it like when they first come home after being incarcerated for a little bit? They still acting like they're incarcerated, still walking around doing stuff that they was doing in their cell, like making disgusting slops, food, bricks, coming home making little, beverages, jailhouse beverages and jailhouse food, walking around in their flip-flops. Doing their laundry, in a bucket, putting airing them out, stuff like that. It's so there's still people that had mental health issues. They're still that, focusing in on that time where we couldn't go anywhere. They're still not back into quote unquote normal state. Because all that time that they couldn't get their medication and couldn't go get therapy, they were sitting up in the house, their mental health issues getting increasingly worse. Their chemical imbalance is all the way off because they hadn't had their medication. And now suddenly everything's open and quote unquote normal again. And we think they're supposed to go back to normal again and be allowed to walk around and go to concerts and, restaurants or whatever, in social settings with people. And mental health is real weird. You can't just look at somebody and tell if they got a mental health issue or not. In some cases, it's apparent if they got a mental health issue. Their body language and mannerisms. But most people, you can't just look at most people and tell something ain't right with them. You won't know until it actually happens. But so I think my final thing I want to say is it's some some severe mental health issues going on behind that, Cardi B incident. So I think it was a mental health type issue at play too. There was a lot of issues at play. I think most of it was clout propagated by the powers that be, because it's too coincidental that he was damn near in the front of the audience, that she made eye contact with the guy, that she was close enough to look at him in the eye, seeing where it was coming from, you know what I mean? So he wasn't like way, way in the back in the nosebleed section to hit her. He was like up to almost where he could like grab her or something. Well, like I said, I got a whole couple more things to like tack on to that. It also seems to be a resurgence of, I mean, not a resurgence, but like a explosion of, thought-like behavior in our women lately. And I don't know if it's because it's summertime and it's like quote unquote hot girl summer, but we seeing a whole lot of unladylike behavior online at these events, at these hip hop events. Like our women, our ladies is sitting up there, getting up on stage, dropping it low to the floor when the beat goes on, and just looking kind of horrible. Most of them don't even be having like drawers on, sitting up there like all the way to the floor, not just dropping it low to the floor, like literally mopping the floor with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, do you know how that like globally makes us look? Now there's a difference with having fun and then being made fun of. And this is feeling like we're being made fun of. This image that keeps on getting recycled and forced down our neck, forced down our throat about our women. Like they ain't got no self-control. Like they just lose their whole, faculties when they hear a hip hop beat come on. They gotta get up and drop it low to the floor and gyrate and show like everything. They gotta bend over, poke it out, make it pop. And this ain't just like at hip hop shows. This is like comedy shows. This is like just events, like mixtures, like festivals with children in the crowd. Like anywhere there's a dance, like a little area where you can dance. A stage, like if you see a stage, they hopping up on the stage and all, hey, 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 hey. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a whole, like it's an explosion of that happening all over the nation right now. A definite misrepresentation. And again, they attach that negative image to the culture of hip hop and try to attribute that to hip hop music. Well, it's in the music. It's hip hop music that's objectifying. They called it women nappy head hoes. And it's just like, when's it going to stop? And again, I'm not like a moral judge and acting like I'm holier than thou. And I'm not opposed to women freely expressing themselves, having a good time, but it's like, where's the cutoff? Where's the chill button? And I know it's like acceptable in some cultures. Some cultures, like when you go to places like Brazil and the Bahamas and, like Belize and Ecuador, these like Central America, places, Spanish speaking nations like Colombia, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, like it's normal over there. But we ain't there, we here. And it needs to be a chill. It needs to be like, okay, there's children out here, there's young impressionable ladies, there's young impressionable men, yeah, they're young and impressionable. And we gotta stop that too, making our youth, like, putting that stigma over our young men, like, pushing them out before they're ready. So like, oh, you better start liking girls. Like if they're childish at 12 or 13, let them be childish at 12 or 13. If they into like, I think the young people was into like anime and collecting cards and stuff now, our children, if they're into that world, let them be in that world for a little bit. Don't be pushing them out, talking about you need a girlfriend, you need a boyfriend, stop being weird. Let them be weird for a little bit. But that's just crazy. And like I said, everything needs a context behind it. Like, what are you saying with your nudity? What's the context behind you getting naked? Like, it makes sense if you're a stripper. It makes sense. Your nudity makes sense if you're a stripper. If that's what you do for a living, you strip, you go to strip clubs, you go to nightclubs, you go, hey, get on the table and get your tip money, because you're a stripper. It makes sense. It makes sense if you're an escort. If you're a back page escort, then it makes sense like, hey, that's your business card. Your nudity is your business card. You getting clients. You soliciting clients. It makes sense. It makes sense if you're an IG model or Twitter or wherever they're camming at, whatever mediums that they're camming on, then that makes sense. It don't make sense if you work a 9-to-5 job, 40 hours a week, either in corporate America or just at the general labor level to get a few drinks in you and decide to, jump on top of a bar, jump on top of the wet bar, jump on top of a table, jump on top of a random stranger's car, on the hood of their car, and dropping it low to the floor and mopping up, that don't make sense. And I think a lot of it is, unfortunately, the music. That 808 beat, that one beat that triggers something in the subconscious. that releases some type of chemical in the brain that causes them gyrations. And then culturally, Caucasian women do it too. With the double standards, they got I call it the white girl wiggle. Because, when they get a couple sips in them, they woo, woo. And then, they lift their little top up. They do that little wiggle. They go, woo. When they get a couple shots in them. Now, what's the difference between them and our women? Is their women don't get scrutinized for it. It's just like, oh, no big deal. She had a couple sips. She likes to party. She's a party girl. No big deal. When our women do it, they're sluts and they're whores and they're all these negative things. And not saying we should condone either behavior, no matter, what color you are. You're a woman first and foremost before you anything. When you leave that house, you're representing your parents. You're representing your children, if you have children. You think they want to look back and see, their mama drop it low to the floor? If they're in middle school or high school, well, it's just like, I can really keep going with that, but that was just really kind of, heavy on my mind, because it's just like, I'm going to put a pin in it right here with my commentary. And the basic thing I want to just touch on was, we're living now in a society where we're rewarding buffoonish behavior. Buffoonish behavior is getting incentivized, it's getting televised, it's getting pushed to the forefront, and everybody needs to take a stand against that. This is where, the disconnect is happening in the culture. This is, why artisanship isn't at the peak now, because you don't need to be talented anymore. You just need to be, all right with being a buffoon, a complete jackass. You don't have to practice your instrument. You don't have to practice your jokes anymore. You don't have to practice your raps. You just got to have something gimmicky, something dumb. You have to look like an idiot. And then you'll skyrocket and go viral. You'll go on every single talk show talking about your antics. They give you your own reality television show. They give you your own podcast, Being Stupid. Showing your breastises, showing your cookie. Yeah, you definitely get a reality show for that. And then in the contract, oh, you got to get in 2 or 3 fights an episode with other girls. 2 or 3 episodes, y'all got to just, for no apparent reason, just start twerking. No apparent reason, just start hooking up on camera. Yeah, that's just like we're really going downhill as a society. We have no filter anymore. Just like anything's going, any type of lewd, unscrupulous behavior is getting rewarded. There used to be a time on TV where like a woman would say, a man would say, whisper, like you would see a sitcom and the guy would whisper something disgusting in the woman's ear, and then she would haul off to smack him, and that would be the end of the scene. Now on sitcoms, a guy whispers something dirty in a woman's ear, they walk off camera and go into the bedroom. So just wrapping it up, just putting it back into perspective, I do believe it's a woman's choice to do whatever she wants with her body. I do believe, as far as the nudity thing, a proper context, if the context is proper for the nudity, it is in the proper setting, but if it's not in the proper setting, and it's just crammed and forced down our throat, then that's not okay. That's what I'm saying. I'm not holier than thou. I don't think, I'm a heterosexual man. If I see, like any other guy, I'm going to look. You know what I'm saying? That's just the nature of man. If nothing but for 3 seconds, I'm going to try my very best to avert my gaze. But you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just becoming increasingly more difficult to do that. And then the ones that's doing it got the audacity to like demand respect. And like, how dare you? How dare you look at me when I'm just putting it all up in your face? And then another parameter I believe in, like if it's for a specific person, then that's not nobody's business. If, they're online, they're direct instant messaging each other. She puts it in the inbox. You put it in the inbox. At that point, it's it's whatever. At that point, it's 2 consensual adults. If it happens in the DM, it ain't nobody's business. It's between them 2 people. If she feels like they done got to the stage where she wants to show somebody, where she wants to show that person that she's talking to her goodies, then whose business is it? Now, as a man, he shouldn't be so immature that he shows everybody else what she showed him. But, you know, in the perfect world, he wouldn't, if he's any type of a man. But,
your appointment was over about this time.
But yeah. So well, I guess I gotta put a pin in it, and yeah, thanks for listening. I thought I had some time to go over my normal podcast format with you guys, but looks like I'm about out of time. I gotta wrap it up. Join me this weekend for a full episode of the Narrator podcast. Thanks for listening. Good evening. I'm sending you, projecting love, light, healing energy to everyone. I'm Halsey Allen signing off. I'm changing the narrative one episode at a time, and I'm trying to encourage you to change the narrative one social media post at a time. Narrative podcast, Halsey Allen signing off. Join me this weekend for another full episode of the Narrator podcast. Halsey Allen, Narrative podcast signing off, and it's like that. $3:45.